maybe I'm like really sensitive to this, but when I hear people start to talk like self-determination of like some amorphous blob that is blackness, whatever that means to these people, I just can't see anything else besides them just wanting to build an ethno state, right? If you're a white communist, liberal, leftist, liberal, radical, progressive, whatever you identify as, and you believe in equality, then you must inherently believe in black people's right to govern themselves and have their own nation. Here it is. Every nation has a right to self-determination. I don't know. See, this just all really sounds like flowery language to obfuscate what you're really trying to say. And I'm not sure. The language of politics is incredibly inaccessible at times. Listen, all right? You actually, Teddy Rampage, you made a really good point just there. I'm going to go into Big Kim for this. You made an amazing point right there. This is true. Lots of political language is really flowery, and lots of political language is very hard to decipher and has several meanings. So people can talk out of two sides of their mouth, and people could, take it any way they want. It's a very good skill to have, mind you. To be a politician, especially in this country, it's a very good skill to have. You can say whatever you want, basically, and people could take it however they want it, right? If they don't like you, they'll take it in a way that that is, bad for you. But the same way people who are more charitable for you will easily run with that. It's basically how dog whistles work, right? It's just like how dog whistles work. The people who know, and the people who don't won't get it. But yeah, it's just completely true. And that's why I'm honestly so suspicious when people use language like, we have to secure a nation for our people, and if you believe in equality, you should know that black people have a right to self-determination, and we should secure a future for black children. See, it's just ringing the same. It's hitting the same notes on the xylophone for me, on the xylophone of racism. It's hitting the same notes. You're playing the same song, all right, but it's a little out of tune, and that's just, I don't know. That's just me. I just don't. I don't see this as someone genuinely expressing their beliefs. I feel like if you get this person into like an actual debate, if I feel like you get this person into like an actual debate, or you dig into their belief system, you're gonna hit gold. And by gold, I mean a flaming pile of dog shit, which is they're just racist and hate white people. Do you feel like it's difficult to challenge these conceptions? I think it's pretty difficult because most people, now that's a hot take. Listen, I got a lot of hot takes in this chat, okay? I got a lot of hot takes. I feel like it can be, well, if you mean like challenge the conceptions of like dog whistles, could you be a little bit more specific? What do you mean? Which conceptions are you talking about specifically? Sir or madame or they? National liberation from colonialism and neocolonialism is a precursor to any progression towards a stateless communist society. Oh, you're talking about black nationalism? Oh, it's difficult to challenge these conceptions. It's about as difficult to challenge the conceptions of like a white person who just thinks that black people are just inherently more stupid in their problems are just because they're just their problems are just because they sag their pants and they listen to rap music, which bad. It's about as hard to challenge like your girlfriend's racist uncle at the dinner table, who after finishing his mashed potatoes goes on a diatribe about how back in the day everything was better, like back in the 70s or 60s, everything was better because everyone talked to stayed in their own groups, and everything. Now everything's messed up and jumbled around and nobody knows what to do. It's about as difficult to challenge those conceptions because it's fundamentally rooted in just people's emotions. it's about as easy to convince like a 3-year-old that their dad isn't the best dad in the world. Obviously their dad is the best dad in the world. He just bought me a bike. Now whose dad is better than that? I can't think of one. See, you know what? Well, actually it depends on how you define best, and you know the people's fathers, you know, do different things for them, and they can mean different things to different people. But you know, how do you talk someone down for that? You basically can't. You have to like dig at their inconsistencies, and the human mind is very bad at handling inconsistencies. So they either try to suppress it and pretend like it doesn't exist, or they'll feel lots of, you know, discomfort, and you'll have to hammer away and chip away at that discomfort over time, a lot of the time, from someone that they usually trust, to have them change their mind over time. Yeah, it's a lot of cognitive dissonance. Yeah, a lot of it. Because you'll see these people, they'll say stuff like this, and then they'll go on like a diatribe about how being pro-black actually doesn't mean you're anti-white. And then they'll be like, white people are inherently bad, you know? And then literally the next tweet, they'll be like, white people are inherently bad. They're just by nature, they are creatures from another plane of dimension here to torture the good, honest black folk of this world. And they must be disposed of like the trash. They'll say stuff like that in literally the next sentence after they try to disprove that being pro-black isn't being anti-white, which it doesn't. Being pro-black is mutually exclusive with being anti-white. But these people aren't the example of it. I feel like some of the rhetoric people spew is done in a way to avoid accountability and the consequences that come as a result of nationalism or any kind. I've also seen as a device for. Oh yeah, 100%. They love to use this sort of rhetoric. They love to use this sort of rhetoric to try and distance themselves from the damage that they're doing. Like, what does this even mean? What does this even mean? What is self-determination, black nationalism? And they'll say like nationalism, and then they'll be like, oh, they don't mean a state. They mean a difference between, you know, you have to get the difference between a nation and a state. I don't even know what the definition of a state that they're using right now. Blacks are a nation? That's what we're going to get into. Actually, I can't even read your freaking name because I'm on night mode. Oh, what's up? Oh, it's Corvo. What's up, Corvo? It feels like the message they're propagating is quite visceral and appeals to the legacy of persecution. Oh, it's just all emotion. It's the same way they recruit people, the same way like the alt-right, you know, Gavin McGinnis with the Proud Boys. You know, it's the same way they recruit people, and the same way the Nazis recruit people. They fed into people's discontent with the status quo, and then have them manifest their anger and hatred into a currency that they can use to propagate into these sorts of like, you know, into these sorts of groups. And I think there's genuine pain, the same way that I feel like that lots of the people who are in like alt-right groups, even like the Nick Fuentes types, they feel genuine pain, right? They have, if you hear them talk about the problems that they're having, besides like race issues, they're literally talking about problems that millions of Americans and billions of people across this planet are experiencing today with the status quo. And the problem is that they're using that, and they're taking that genuine pain, and it's being sucked up and funneled into these poor groups that are trying to exploit that into nefarious deeds. It's just like white nationalism. I don't believe it's a real thing. There isn't a nation with a cultural background of white. Oh, 100. See, thank you, Corvo. What is black? What is black? I don't know. Can someone tell me? Because I have no clue. What is black? Listen, all right. You go to Europe, all right, and you try to talk to these people about how they're just like one big happy family because they're all Caucasian. They're gonna look at you like you have 3 freaking heads. You're gonna be like outcasted. You're gonna be insane. Mind you, Europe has been fighting ever since humans have crossed the Caucasus Mountains. Europe has been fighting and killing each other. You know, like through like the king days with freaking serfs, through the medieval period, through you know, Anybody remember the Crusades? Anybody remember World War I and World War II, which is literally just white people fighting each other? Anybody remember the New Friday agreements? Like in the 90s, this was like 40 years ago, the UK and Ireland had to form a treaty so they stopped forming terrorist cells to bomb each other. This was 40 years ago, 30 years ago. They've always been fighting. They're not unified under this like banner of white. You talk to a British person today and a French person today and try to act like they're all buddy buddy, like some, you know, like they're cousins or something. They're gonna look at you like they're gonna be like, what the hell are you talking about? Because it doesn't make any sense to them. They're not white. They're British and French, and we have a big umbrella that we can call them white just because of the way they look, really. And not even really necessarily because of the way they look. It's all arbitrary, really. I thought of parameters were set from the experiences and descendants of slaves, like the black experiences. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with like the ideas, but like the very baseline ideas of black power and black nationalism, and nationalism and like the idea of the collective black experience, because lots of black people have very similar experiences across this country, not the same but very similar, due to oppression and things of that nature. But lots of people are conflating that with having some sort of like big group preference. Yeah, look at the Slavs, Ukrainians, Russia. I mean, back when the U.S. was founded, it was made to be only Anglo-Saxons. So no people of Germanic descent, no Slavs, no no Russians, no Ukrainians, no Poles, okay, and definitely no Jews. And all these people we'd call white, right? And I think when we're talking specifically of like a United States context, when we're speaking specifically of the United States context, I think that there is like a real black experience if you are someone who was born here, a descendant of slaves. I think there's like I said, there's overarching like umbrella sort of experiences that you're probably going to face if you're like middle class, low class black person in America. Like I said, from descendant of American slaves. You probably are. Anglos are Germanic. Oh, did I get that wrong? Listen. Yeah, no problem. Did I get that wrong? I remember it was the first people who were supposed to be allowed in the U.S. were Anglo-Saxons. I don't really remember all of my European historical ethnic background knowledge. There's so much like ethnic diversity in Europe even, and then they're going to try and talk about Africa, right? And they're going to try and talk about Africa and trying to build like a black nation. Listen, we're going to talk about this in just a second, but there's literally a dude who these people try to also schnitzels. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you stopping by. They're trying to talk about like black people, like African Americans connection with literal Africans. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Literally anyone, okay? Correct me if I'm wrong. I took a little bit of African studies when I was in college, but I'm quite sure that Africa is one of the most ethnically diverse continents on the planet, if not the most ethnically diverse continent on the planet. Like, to sit here and try and assume that black people are going to be, and genetically diverse, like they're crazy. To try and believe that these people are going to just like accept you. Also, vote for Joe. Thank you so much. Oh, I muted it. I destroyed my widgets. Vote for Joe. Thank you so much for that follow. Wait a second. Let's replay that. There you go. Thank you, Vote for Joe, for letting the American people know that we're all tired of women. Can I count on your vote for the presidency? Unironically, yes. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Because I'm not vote blue. I'm not Bernie or bust here. I love Bernie. All right. Here's my Birdie sticker. I got this for being one of the first donators to his campaign back when it started up in early 2019. But I am of the opinion that Biden is better, Trump is bad, and we need to get him out. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. The 100 bits. Why'd you give me 100 bits? Why are you so nice? What did you say? How do I read this? How do I read this? It's so... I'm actually glad to stumble upon a Twitch stream that isn't relying on meta of sound bites. Well, thank you so much. Listen, I'm doing my best, all right? I'm doing my best out here. I love streaming politics. I became politically active back in 2017 off of Bernie's campaign, and I've stayed the course since. And I decided to make a stream about it, just the meme stream. We're heading up on 65 episodes live almost every day, having a good time. I mean, the cultural differences are the main causes of civil wars in African countries. Yeah, 100%. Like the lines of the countries. And thank you so much, Teddy Rampage, for those 100 bits. That's incredible. That's incredible. You're so nice. Yeah, like African countries are still fighting to this very day. Ever heard of Sudan? About the lines that were drawn by colonizers that were originally there, right? Imagine some cultureless swine, basically, which we are to them. This cultureless, nationless abortion, like a botched abortion that is the African Americans in the United States are to like a Nigerian or an Ethiopian or someone from the Congo or someone from South Africa or someone from a freaking Libya. You know, none of these people are like me. I don't share anything with them besides some of them a skin tone, and lots of Africans are even lighter than me, and lots of Africans are far darker than me. Imperialist swine. Oh, they are 110% imperialist swine. Yeah, and literal genocide between, you know, black black societies and even European societies. You know, to imagine that these people can sit on the same thread, be on the same wavelength of trying to believe that these people have some sort of unified idea of the world just because they're all of the same general skin tone is absolutely insane to me. How do you even believe this? I mean, I believe that you should believe in equality. Like, I believe in egalitarianism, equality, I believe in self-determination, but you press these people and say, hey, bud, you're trying to make an ethno state. And they'll be like, you don't know the difference between a nation and a state. How could you say that you should read? And then they'll literally throw 10 books at you and be like, read these books and then get back to me. Like, holy crap, dude. And I don't want to give these people a break just because they're black. You know, black people are not immune to being stupid and having terrible takes. I feel like, honestly, some black people use that to, you know, work as a freaking magic cloak to shield them from being called out on their bullshit for being racist, you know? And they're trying to separate black nationalism and white nationalism. White nationalism, enslaving, colonizing, exploiting non-white people, and black nationalism is just being free. What does that mean? What does that mean? Because to me, when I hear that, I hear you're trying to build a black ethno state. All right, you're trying to carve out some place in freaking Montana and try to make that into some giant black enclave like the freaking Native American tribes and turn that into some sort of like a massive black kumbaya moment. I just don't believe in it. It just sounds wild to me. You only read Spark Notes and YouTube audio summaries of books. I feel that. Honestly, I feel like, you know, that'll give you're doing a lot more than most people. General summaries, that's really good. I'm trying to read some more books. It's been a little hard, you know. I have a lot of, you know, stuff on my plate at the moment. Black Lives Matter movement lost all credibility when they started doing stupid shit. I'm all for equality, but I think the movement has gone south real fast. I'm not sure. Man of culture, only reading Spark Notes. I'm not sure about Black Lives Matter. I know Black Lives Matter still does a lot of really good work. I know a lot of people have the opinion that Black Lives Matter isn't like that great due to like YouTube clips of people and stuff, but I think most of the work they do is fine, honestly. Oh, and did Teddy Rampage, did I shout you out for following? I'll replay it because I don't remember if I did. I may be stupid, but thank you so much, Teddy Rampage, for the follow. You did? Okay, great. Well, there you go. There you go. You get it. You get it twice. A follow so nice, I had to shout it out twice. I'm honestly opposed to deferring or recognizing people's opinion as an authority because it takes away from the accountability. It allows the alt-right to pick and choose their favorite ethnic person. Oh, 100%. Like Candace Owens for being the one good black, for being thank you, Devil Dog. You're always here and you're always hyping me up. You're one of the good ones, okay? Thank you for being my token conservative, all right? Or like Dave Rubin for being like the one gay guy who's gonna, back us up no matter when the SJW brigade comes for us. Yeah, an id poll. Yeah, definitely. No, it's worse than id poll. It's liberal id poll, which is far worse. Liberals, but yeah, there's lots of bad black nationalist stuff out there. Like some people saw it earlier, but I compared it to like the Nazi shit, the 14 words. We must secure the existence of our people and the future of white children. Just replace this with black, right? Does it sound much different than what they're talking about? Honestly, I'd say no. I'd really say no. Bless you. Well, I feel very blessed today. About Black Hammer and the Anne Frank thing. Wait a second. I think I saw like a little snippet of this on Twitter, but when I was reading it halfway through, and my brain was literally like doing freaking barrel rolls in my skull, and I felt like I was gonna pass out, so I couldn't finish reading it. It was so stupid. But is he the dude who was like fuck Anne Frank for being holocausted? Ever heard of slavery? Like, was he that dude? Black Hammer totally has lots of real support. Definitely not ults or bots or anything. What the? Anne Frank would be barefoot and pregnant if the South won the Civil War, as it rightfully should have. Get fucking down low, brother. What the hell? What the hell am I reading? What the hell am I reading? Holy shit. Wasn't she like 14? Yeah, there are many. Yeah, there are many. They're like the white nationalists that really love Ben Shapiro and think Ben Shapiro is the greatest evil to ever. He's like a psyop or something. He was that dude. Oh, this is the guy. This guy's also a black nationalist. You know what I hate the most? You know what I hate more than anything else in this world? Is the holy shit. It's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. It's like the caricature that like Stone Toss would come up with for like a black rights supporter. They're wearing like the freaking traditional like orange, green and black African toga, and they have like the headdress on, and they have a big like wooden bead necklace with like the wooden Africa, the nation the continent of Africa on their freaking pendant necklace, and they'll just be like, we just need to get back to our black roots and connect with the motherland and get away from these white colonizers. And like, holy crap, dude, this is the dude. This is the guy who thinks if he like lands in freaking who lands in like Ethiopia, he'll be accepted as one of the bradas or something. I feel like a lot of his frustrations were rooted in the education system and didn't allow the diaspora African Americans to learn about on histories. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, I can identify with the general sentiment that he's espousing. Like, hey, when, you know, and pointing out the hypocrisy of like, you know, when white people, when white looking people are suffering, it seems like a much bigger issue than when black people are suffering, right? And we just kind of like gloss over like the whole slavery thing for 200 years, like the literal legal rape, torture, and ownership as like property of actual human beings with thoughts and emotions for hundreds of years. Isn't that what Kwanzaa was? I think it's, I don't know. It may be connecting with the roots. I used to consider myself a white nationalist, but I don't want to be associated with the dumb fuck terrorists. What the heck? Schnitzels. Well, I mean, I appreciate you coming, escaping the dark side, my duder. It's a bad place to be. But I want to hop into this article, honestly. Oh, that's wrong. Don't do that. I want to hop into this article. I'm going to expand it a little bit for you all with bad eyesight. All right. I wear glasses 24/7, so sometimes I need it. So I know some of you might as well. We're a disability pro stream. Someday I'll get a the freaking closed caption so people who are the deaferino can read along as well. Black nationalism is a type of political thought that seeks to promote and develop and maintain the black race and identity for people of black ancestry. Bro, this is literally 14 words. But I feel like in the context of like American African Americans, like their situation, I feel like this can be justified. But the black race, black people is a skin group based classification. Like black people. I hate this. Me as an African American, I have nothing to do with like Congolese people, and they have nothing to do with Liberian people. Some just want stricter immigration. Some just want an ethno state. And I have very baselines. I have baseline sort of, you know, goals for people to reach. Don't be racist. Don't be an ist. Okay, there are lots of ists and isms that I can name. Don't be one of them. All right, and don't build ethno states. All of those are great. So do you consider yourself like the benevolent white nationalist who just wants you know, like I don't know, like a big fun house in Idaho or something where all the white people can be free? Black nationalist activism revolves around social, political, and economic empowerment of black communities. I agree with that. That sounds great. Especially to resist assimilation into white culture. Oh no. Integration or otherwise to maintain a distinct black identity. This is not good. This last part is not good. Because how this, mind you, how does assimilation into white culture through integration, how does that manifest itself? What do you mean? This sounds like segregated schools, segregated bathrooms. They just like want to go back to segregation, but like cooler. They actually want separate but equal. The Garveyism promoted by the US-based Marcus Garvey furthered black nationalist ideas. Black nationalist ideas have also proved to influence the Black Islam movement, particularly groups like the Nation of Islam, founded by Elijah Muhammad during the 1960s, the Black Panther Party, and the Black Power Party. Martin Delany, 19th century, Marcus Garvey, Benjamin Pap Singleton, reparations for African slaves, Liberia. Oh, the reparations of African slaves to Liberia, Sierra Leone was a common black nationalist theme in the 19th century. Oh, they want to go back to, they actually genuinely want to go back to Africa. Like, go back to Africa. They're doing the meme. A first period pre-classic black nationalism began with the first Africans who were brought to America as slaves in the Revolutionary War. We can skip past this part. The Free African Society, 1787. Ooh, big slave era. Black ministers in Pennsylvania formed the Free African Society of Pennsylvania. The goal to organize was to create a church that was free of the restrictions of only one form of religion. I mean, that sounds cool. You know, do your thing, chief. Mutual societies began to pop up. Additionally, the society was well known during the yellow fever epidemic of 1793 that's taken the life of many in the city. Well, that's good. They did a lot of good shit. The Nation of Islam. See, now, the Nation of Islam, I feel like the Nation of Islam is the big bad. One thing I want to read up on is Marcus Garvey. I gotta show you guys about, you know what, before we continue, I gotta tell you guys about Marcus Garvey. I gotta tell you about this guy. I did a little bit of research while I was pre-stream, doing a little bit of fun, fun pre-research memorinos, you know, having a good time, slapping and clapping and memeing. And I came across this duderino. For one, this chief looks like free. This dude looks like what does he look like? He looks like Biggie Smalls' unsuccessful little brother. For one, oh, that's too massive. And this get up, all right, my man's outfit is literally him after he inaugurated himself as king of president of Africa, the African Lord. It's impossible to argue with black nuts. They just quote the Bible and scream. I mean, I guess some of them do. Most of them, I've just seen them use flowery language like white nationalists to obfuscate themselves being just blatant, terrible racists who hate people of different races and just want to have their own cute little like ice cream Weenie Hut Jr. funhouse out in the middle of the woods, free from the oppression of looking at people who don't look like them. That's been my experience, but you know, we all have different worlds. Okay, speak your truth, Schnitzel. Speak your truth. Marcus Mosiah Garvey Jr., Jamaican political activist, publisher, journalist, entrepreneur, and orator. He was the founder of the first president general of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. Very, very, very big. This is good. This is actually a good thing that he did. It did a lot of work to improve the material conditions of black people in North America and Central and South America. That actually did a lot of good. He was born in Jamaica, right? He was born in Jamaica. He did a lot of soul searching. He looked around. I watched a tiny little documentary about him. He looked around and was like, man, black people are oppressed everywhere. What do I do? What do I do? He went to the UK. He went to Kingston. That's also in Jamaica. He moved to the US. I want to see some more because this guy, I remember this guy being literally crazy. So what he wanted to do was improve the conditions of black people in America. So he went to America and he launched several business ventures in the US, including the Negro Factories Corporation and Negro World. I love Negro World. Listen, I can say these words because I'm black, okay? No one can stop me. No one can stop me. You don't have the power. I'm going to say the N-word. Actually, I don't think I can say the N-word on stream. Even though I am a crispy boy. I actually don't think I can say the N-word on stream. But you know, Negro World, which was a newspaper, you know. I'm so glad we got away from that word. It's such an ugly word. It's really bad. But you know what? It was, you know, he had a good idea in his heart, you know, get black people to, you know, build businesses and stuff. That's sick. I want to move on a little bit more. He did some work in Kingston. He was pro-black there. He traveled abroad. He went to Costa Rica. Mind you, he went to the British Empire. He went to Central America. Mind you, okay? This is a black nationalist. And this man never once in his life stepped foot in Africa. Never once. He never once stepped foot in Africa. This reminds me of a Twitch clip where a black streamer said, "Oh fuck," and after that he said the N-word, but it ended up. I forgot I was black. Whoops! Oh no! Delete the VOD. Delete the VOD. Wait, I'm black. Oh, oh, oh! I'm safe. That's my man's right there. That's my man's. Oh, is this the thing? Universal Negro Improvement Association. One aim, one God, one destiny. This is some LARPy shit right here. One aim, one God, one destiny. To establish a brotherhood among the black race, to promote a spirit of race pride, to reclaim the fallen assets in oh, do I know how to pronounce that word? Am I dumb? Am I blacking out? Civil Sing and a backwards tribes of Africa? Chief. He wants to go back to being he wants to just go back to, he literally wants to go back to Africa. Bringing up your race in any sense and dividing humanity according to race is bad. People's criminality matters more. See, I want to tackle this in a very constructive way, okay? Koro, I believe in the essence of what you're saying, but what you're saying is wrong. Sometimes it's important to bring up race because race can correlate with a lot of social economic descriptions of the world, and we can generalize people based on those things, right? You know, if we can basically say, right, if you're like a white person and you I know slavery was wrong, but what are you talking about? You haven't even let me explain yet. I haven't even explained yet. I'm saying if you're like a white person and then you go to like the Congo, you're going to be discriminated against, and it has nothing to do with like your ability to output, like your ability to produce, like capital, or work on capital, or your writing ability or your speaking ability or how nice you are. It boils down to literally just your race. There are problems that we have in this country that are problems because of race. And that's not to say that we need to, exacerbate those problems or anything, but it's important to understand them, to get over them. Your race doesn't matter, and you yourself agreed with me. Seeing humanity in terms of race itself perpetrates racism. Yeah, but we can have an intersectional approach. We don't have to view people as just their race, but sometimes we can single out race to understand some certain problems with the world. We can do this while not being racist and not dividing people. I know a lot of the times you may see this online and see it as dividing people, or people use it as dividing people. I'm going to be very charitable to you, Koro, because like I said, I 100% agree with the sentiment of what you're saying, and I understand why you're mad. What are you talking about racism? When have I explained racism? When have I done a racism? Please explain. I agree that your race shouldn't matter, but your race does matter, sadly. Your race shouldn't matter, but it does matter. I mean, back in like the days of the Romans, you were either Roman or not Roman, and your race didn't really matter. Lots of nations that were conquered by the Romans, once you became a Roman, you were a Roman, the end. And if you weren't a Roman, you weren't a Roman. And your race didn't matter there. There were people from Africa, there were the Slavs and Italians and, what we call the Slavic nations and Italian nations today, all under the banner of being Roman, but what mattered was their collective sort of identity as being Roman and not their race. I think that would probably be a little bit better, maybe in an even broader sense, as people. But your race shouldn't matter, but it does. There are problems that people will face in this country that are different, that are completely devoid. If we're having like a longitudinal study, we can we can account for lots of things like socio-economic status and history and mental abuse and upbringing and mental conditions and stuff like that. But there will still be problems, and that will be because of race. So it's important to look at race. It's important not to harp on race. It's important not to overstate race, but it's important to understand it. And dissuade, just throwing race away is as dangerous as just being colorblind and trying to pretend like race means nothing is just as dangerous as trying to believe race means everything. Left-wing racism. I'm gonna still be racist, but just call it intersectional. We'll keep reaffirming the same dividing lines. Yeah, we don't live in like an idealized world. There are going to be problems that people face just because of their race, and that's important to understand so we can overcome it so it won't happen again. Trying to pretend your problems don't exist doesn't help problems. Just because there's racism somewhere doesn't mean that you should let that tiny percent put you in a state where you're we're talking past each other here. We're talking past each other here, bud. I don't disagree with the sentiment of what you're saying. I don't think you should use race as a crutch to try to defend anything that happens in your life. But it's important to understand the effect that race has on people and societies, because that's important. Yeah, do you think Corvo, if people stop seeing themselves as male or female, black or white, merely as adults or children, working or not, that's going to be a good day. Do you think I disagree with that in sentiment? Because I don't necessarily agree that we have to abolish like all lines. I think we just have to change our mindset on it. It's the same view I have on guns, where I don't necessarily think that we need to like throw away all guns. I'm personally pro gun rights to an extent. It is true that if you take a population and you just give them guns, the murder rate is going to increase. That's just a fact. And the suicide rate will increase. Both those things will increase. And that's bad, and that's a fact. That's just a fact of the world that will happen, right? But I think we need to change our culture around guns, and that will alleviate lots of the problems that we have with them. We can see lots of other nations that have high rates of gun ownership, and they don't have the same gun problems that we do here. And I think that has to do with like a lot of the culture and mental health issues and lots of other issues that we have in this country. And that's the approach that I take here. It's literally impossible not to understand race. I am understanding something wrong. I don't know. What, Corvo, do you want to hop in Discord? You want to talk about this, bud? And one more problem with SJWs is that they unconsciously are far more racist and sexist than the KKK, because they want to force everybody to live in world domination by gender and race lines, which is naturally quite sexist and racist. I'll agree that some liberal feminists will harp on and on and on and on and on about race and gender, like the Twitter wine moms, like the people with the yellow or the gold outline on their profile pictures on Twitter, and the people who have like lifelong Democrat in their profile, and will go to people like black people spewing literal racism and being like, yes, preach queen, tell me about how terrible I am. All that is mad cringy and dumb, but I don't think that takes away with like the core messages of social justice or anything. I definitely would not say that they're more racist than the KKK who literally go out and kill black people for being black. Like, I mean, even Antifa, which I highly doubt that you're for, even Antifa doesn't, in the United States, doesn't have like a kill. There's no kills from Antifa when there are many from white nationalist groups. Not necessarily, you're not the arbiter of someone's experiences with race. Yeah, that's true. You're not, I mean, people experience things because, like I said, they experience things because of their race. One way I can analogize this would be the gender pay gap, right? Gender pay gap exists, right? Why it exists is a different question, but it does exist. There's a difference between the amount of gross income that people who identify as female, well, identify as women, and people who identify as men get, right? And men get more. This is like I said, water is wet, the sky is blue, grass is green. Fact of the world. And when we go into studies and we account for why this happens, we can adjust for your job placement. You can adjust for your education level. You can adjust for your family status. We can adjust for your IQ even. We can adjust for all these things. And what we found in studies is that there's still a 12% gap between the amount of money that women make and the amount of money that men make. And we can usually ascribe that 12% to just sexism there. And that's how I would kind of say it. There's a plethora of things that go into it, and one of those things is race. And I think people talk about it in the wrong way and go about it in the wrong way. But I think it's important to understand. It's important to understand. It really is. Okay. Well, I appreciate you, Corvo, for hopping in. Anyways, we can get back to this. We can get back to Garvey. I kind of want to watch that Garvey clip with you all, actually. I'm not even going to lie. Because when I was watching it, I was like, this guy is hilarious, dude. This is the funniest dude I've ever seen in my entire life. Where is it? Is this it? I hope this is it. Wait, hear me.
Marcus Garvey wanted to return African Americans to Africa to create a vibrant black nation,
Listen to this.
Empowered through economic independence. Although some of his goals were controversial, his crusade would inspire leaders from Malcolm X to Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela.
But listen, he literally wanted he wanted to send all black people back to Africa, Chief. Come on, dude. Come on. You get, and this is the people that, and this is the dude that they're literally taking their they're literally taking their marching orders from. This dude. He's crazy.
Garvey was certainly a controversial figure, but the concepts that we now think
indigenous Liberians still aren't happy. Oh, 100%. How they literally just marched in and tried to carve out their own little place. Like, come on now. People are living there. You can't just barge in. They're like, we need to get away from colonialism and neo-colonialism. We need to stop all this. Excuse me. This is my land now. Blacks only, Chief. While people are like literally sitting there on like lands that their family have been on for the last like 2,000 years, right? Like, come on now. You know what you're doing. That's so terrible. Like, we need to build our own nation. Where's it gonna be? You're gonna have to kick someone out. You're kicking people out. At least like white nationalists are gonna be like, yeah, we want to, kick it. We want to kick them all out. These people, they won't even fess up to that. They won't even fess up to it because they don't even want to get that far. They speak in like flowery language to get you to like bully you into semantic submission.
And black pride started with Garvey's pronouncements.
Marcus Mosiah Garvey was born in St. Anne's Bay, Jamaica on August 17, 1887. Beginning as a printer's apprentice at 14, Garvey became a union organizer and later worked various jobs across Central America.
Marcus Garvey found wherever he went, black people of African heritage in particular were always on the lower stratification end of society. This had a profound impact on him. Particularly, his concern was for the uplift of African people globally.
In 1912, Garvey...
You know what? And that's fine. There's literally nothing wrong with that, to try to uplift black people globally. Try to pretend like there's some big, a big happy family is very different.
And took night courses at Birkbeck College. After working for a Pan-African newspaper, Garvey returned to Jamaica in 1914 and formed the United Negro Improvement Association, or UNIA.
to enslave white people? Honestly, I don't even believe that. I honestly don't believe that, because their main, from your research, from my research, the main goal is black separatism, which is different. They just don't want to interact with white people at all. It's the same way. It's the white separatists now. And you'll see, I don't know if you read, but they actually work together a lot. Garvey worked with the KKK to try to better his goals. I actually don't have a server. I need to build a server. Honestly, I just add people directly, since I'm still a small baby streamer boy. So I literally just, I shouldn't be talking over the stream. I literally just add people right now. But I should be building a Discord. I should do a Discord. You're right. Heck.
It was extremely important in terms of
I actually got to do freaking work.
Getting black people to understand self-pride, pride in one's race.
Inspired by Booker T. Washington to raise funds and start his own school, Garvey came to the United States in 1916 and in 1918 began publishing the Negro World newspaper.
Garvey was extremely outspoken.
That's what I'm talking about when I said earlier. Look.
And in 1918 began
look at her freaking look at her freaking African Boy Scout sash she's got on right there. Let's go, Chief.
He was, some people would say, almost,
if you know, I'm pure black,
bombastic. He wanted to take over Africa and had elected himself as president of Africa without consulting the Africans, unfortunately.
Did you guys hear that? Did you hear that? I heard it. He elected himself the president of Africa without consulting the African president of Africa. This is what I'm talking about. Imagine freaking like Tiberius Elam, the 15th, some random dude from Arkansas has come with a toga and the sandals. He has the Water Walker 3000s on, and he walks into the middle of the Times Square, and he's like, yes, my dear whites, I am the president of Europe. I am here to bring together all people from European descendants into one big banner. Follow me into the promised land of milk and honey. Like, what are you talking about, Kyle? What are you doing? What are you talking about, Chief? Calm down.
Determined to achieve economic independence for African Americans, Garvey launched the Negroes Factories Association in 1919 and a shipping company called the Black Star Line, which he planned to use to transport passengers back to Africa.
Garvey was a
transport passengers back to Africa. Let's go. Hop on, all aboard, buddies. Let's go back to Africa. Like Israeli romanticism, 100%. And one thing that they actually didn't talk about here is, I got to bring this up. I think it's in here actually. Shoot, where is it? I need to find this. I need to find it. Oh, also Garvey was furious at the verdict, shouting abuse from the courtroom and calling both the judge and the district attorney damn dirty Jews. Imprisoned in the Tombs jail while awaiting sentencing, he continued to blame the Jewish cabal for the verdict. In contrast, prior to this, he had never expressed anti-Semitic sentiments and was supportive of Zionism. Man, I guess that one broke down real quick as soon as he realized that the Jews weren't on his back, I guess. Jeez, what the fuck? Put forward plans to bring 3,000 African American migrants to Liberia. Amazing. There was one thing I really wanted to bring up. There was something really important here. Whoop. Where is it? Here it is. I found it. Under Pan-Africanism, this is listen, if anybody's asleep, wake up. This is the important part here. He supported the Back to Africa movement, although he did not believe that all African Americans should migrate to Africa. Instead, he thought that only an elite section, namely those African Americans of purest African blood, should do so. The rest of the African American population, he believed, should remain in the United States, where they would be extinct in 50 years. So like all the filthy whites, all the filthy blacks with a drop of white blood in them, need to stay in the United States, where they will fizzle out like a drop of water in a hot iron skillet, just disappear, fizzle away. What a piece of shit, dude. This is the guy that these people are trying to grab their ideology from. He promoted the ideas of racial separatism, but did not stress the ideas of racial superiority. Amazing. This is the man's. That's my man's right there.
Great organizer, but unfortunately not a great businessman. During the time that Garvey and the UNIA were trying to launch the Black Star Line, they solicited funds from investors for stock options through the mail. And this resulted later on in allegations of mail fraud, and Garvey was convicted and sent to prison.
After serving 5 years in prison, Garvey was deported. He eventually moved to London, and in 1938, he supported the Greater Liberia Act, created by known white supremacist Senator Theodore Bilbo from Mississippi.
This is also a really important part that I want to stress. So this person back here, remember, oh, he gone. Can I go back? Can I find it? Heck, shoot, and also freak. Where's this guy? Shoot, I can't find it. Anyways, the Deuterino that we were talking about earlier, who wanted to make sure that everyone understood the distinction between black nationalism and white nationalism. His Deuterino worked with segregationists, both the KKK and segregationists like Southern Democrats in Congress, to try to get black people out of the country. Well, my bad. The purest black people out of the country, the purebred ones, the good ones, to reclaim Africa as a black state, because apparently Africa is one big thing.
Marcus Garvey's association with Senator Bilbo is related more on a practical level rather than an intellectual like for each other. Marcus Garvey's attempt to help Africans in America leave and go to Africa fell in line with some aspects of KKK philosophy.
Wow, really? You wouldn't think.
London on June 10th, 1940. He was reinterred in Jamaica in 1964 and is hailed as Jamaica's first national hero and the prophet of the Rastafarian religion.
Amazing. He, like I said, he also never stepped foot in Africa. So I just like, and a lot of people took a lot of really good things from what he believed. And like I said, he had some okay ideas. I really thought so. He had some okay ideas, like starting factories, like starting black-owned factories and black-owned other businesses and things like that. That's fine, right? The whole like back to Africa thing and working with like white supremacists, I'll say that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. I will go out on a limb and say that is a bad. And here's one person, Norm R. Allen Jr., the former director of African Americans for Humanism, calls black nationalism a strange mixture of profound thought and patent nonsense. That's academic terms for saying it's bullshit. On one hand, reactionary black nationalists advocate self-love, self-respect, self-acceptance, self-help, pride, unity, and such forth, much like right-wingers who promote traditional family values. But like the holier-than-thou right-wingers, RBNs promote bigotry, intolerance, hatred, sexism, homophobia, anti-Semitism, pseudoscience, irrationality, and dogmatic historical revisionism, violence, and so forth. I think that's the best wrap-up that we can give about this ideology. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, thank you, Norm R. Allen Jr. for wrapping that all up into a beautiful, shit-smelling bow. Amazing. So I just don't see black nationalism just from their founders as being anything that I really want to agree with. You don't see much multiculturalism there. Oh no. Like There's not much multiculturalism going on there. But the thing is, the difference is they're talking about black as in people with dark skin tone. That's what they mean when they say black, right? So they're doing the same thing that the white supremacists do. They group up all these people who have a similar skin tone and try to say that they have some sort of like ancestral roots that like the tree, like the roots of Yggdrasil, they spread across the world and no amount of diaspora can separate them from the motherland of bullshit. Okay. That's what they believe. And it's really dumb. I have nothing to do. Yeah. They're trying to say like Africa is like one big culture. Africa has thousands. I think they have 2,000 or 3,000 languages in Africa, and like thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of cultures in Africa. Like it's incredibly diverse. You try to walk into like to like some like African village in Kenya and try and pretend like you're their brothers or something. They're gonna kick you out. Who the hell are you? Just because you're black doesn't mean literally anything. It means literally nothing to these people. Like it should. Like what do you have to do? I want to see. Well, I can't spell. Separatism. Black separatism. Oh, here we go. Oh, look, they got a thing for us. Wow, look, it's a big tree. All right, so what do we got? Racial solidarity. Wow, it's a really good starting place. Being understanding the struggles and being sympathetic to the struggles of people of your race, especially when you're an oppressed minority. Sounds mucho grande. Great. Black nationalism, kind of cringe. What's going on here? Let's go back, and then it's like black cultural nationalism, black religious nationalism, political nationalism, economic nationalism, territorial separatism. Like I said, go back, and then it's black separatism, and you're like, oh, there's no going back now. This is the pipeline. This is the black racist pipeline here. Black separatism or self-containment, in which is an extreme form of advocated the perpetual physical separation of races. Segregation 2, Electric Boogaloo. I see. Amazing. I think there's a little bit more in wait, what was that? Let's go to white separatism. White nationalism. Okay, so they want to build an ethno state. Sounds familiar. White separatism. Here we go. This is the part that I want to go over with you all. White separatism is a political and social movement that seeks for the separation of white people from other races, ethnicities, and establish a white ethno-state by removing non-whites from existing communities or by forming new communities elsewhere. Doesn't this sound familiar to you? Sounds a little familiar to me. The Southern Poverty Law Center defines both white nationalism and separatism as ideologies based on white supremacy. Facebook banned content that is openly white nationalist or separatist because white nationalism and separatism cannot meaningfully separate from white supremacy and organized hate groups. And I think this is true. Like in its core, it can't be any different. It really can't. It can't be any different at all. Because it coincides with believing, with like the definition of racism. It coincides with believing that people among different races are fundamentally different from each other, biologically different from each other, that they cannot coexist. And that's the foundations of just any racism. Honestly. There's something that I really want to show you. There's something really, really important here. I don't know if I can find it. It was a really good passage. I think I lost it though. Shoot. It was about black nationalists and white nationalists working together. It was about black nationalists and white nationalists working together. It was talking about Malcolm X too. I want to see if I can find it because it was really, really interesting. I want to read it with you all. Here it is. Here it is. Relationships with black separatist groups. This is important, dude. This is some good stuff right here. February 1962, George Lincoln Rockwell, the leader of the American Nazi Party, spoke at the Nation of Islam. What percentage of American voters are black? I don't know. Probably like of American voters. So do you mean like registered voters or active voters? Because registered voters would probably be half of active voters. Yeah, the government has. Yeah, they're in there. You know what I saw that was really interesting is that the government tried to infiltrate a lot of leftist groups like anarchists and socialists and communist groups, but they couldn't do it because to actually meaningfully participate in these groups, they had to read about 9 months of information prior to even not be recognized as like a weird outsider. What percentage of African American voters are black? I don't know. I'd probably say like maybe 10%. Something along those lines. We elected a black president twice. How can you call us racist? I see. A half black guy was in the Oval Office for like 8 years. So America no racist no more. I see. Very interesting. The CW Mario 11. Hi again. How you doing, bud? You having a good night today? Thanks for swinging back. Thanks for swinging by. But yeah, the leader of the American Nazi Party spoke at the Nation of Islam in Chicago, where he was applauded by Elijah Muhammad. Remember, Elijah Muhammad was the guy who founded the Nation of Islam, which is supposed to be a pro-black organization. As he pronounced, "I am proud to stand before black men. I believe Elijah Muhammad is the Adolf Hitler of the black man." Ah, yes, the leader of the American Nazi Party in 19... Oh, is this what this dude looks like? Ha! Jeez. Believe that the founder of the Nation of Islam is the Adolf Hitler of the black man. Amazing. Rockwell had attended, but did not speak at earlier Nation of Islam and rallies in Washington. He even donated $20 in 1960. And what was this? 1962. $20. That's like... What's $20 back in 1962? Isn't that like $50 today? That's a lot of money. Well, it's a sizable contribution to like a nonprofit or whatever. In 1965, after breaking with the Nation of Islam and denouncing its separatist doctrine, Malcolm X told his followers that the Nation of Islam under Elijah Muhammad had made secret arrangements with the American Nazi Party and the Ku Klux Klan. Huh? Would you listen to that? The black separatist group aligned themselves with the Nazis and the KKK. Huh. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Who'd have thunk it? Rockwell and other white supremacists also supported well-known black separatist groups such as Hassan Juro Ahmad's Black Men's Army of Liberation, in reference to which Rockwell told the LA Times reporter Michael Dronson in 1967 that if any Negro wants to go back to Africa, I'll carry him piggyback. So I'm just questioning, if these are the people that they align with, right? Their ideas align themselves good enough for them to work together, to donate to each other, to speak at each other's events, to prop each other up. I don't see how you can sit here and try to tell me that your beliefs do not stem from hatred. Riddle me that. Riddle me that, chat. I'm very interested. I'm extremely interested in how you can reconcile these two beliefs. I don't get it. I don't think these I don't see this as like anything that can be good. And this guy's a black nationalist. This guy here. I just don't see this as like anything that we could call good. The FBI found these groups to increase factionalism. Yeah, I wouldn't even doubt it. I just don't see how these people can try to push forth this idea that black nationalism is good. Like if my ideological foundation, also I have no clue what the hell is going on here. Wait, what? We're leaving, and we're not coming back. I hate Twitter. I hate Twitter so much. Everything about it is terrible. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to be a nationalist. I don't like racism. I don't like ethno states. I don't like people trying to limit freedom of movement in this way, especially based on race. I don't see this as being anything that can be good towards the black experience in this country.